Today we are going to talk about Christian work ethics. And it's so interesting. Just today morning, I was faced with an ethical situation. I'm having a sister of mine who has been living in the US for the last 20 years. Things have not been very good for her. She has been homeless. She has lived in the streets. And I had to go and pick her this year. Even when I was living here in March, I didn't even think I'll get her. I didn't think I'll even find her. You know the way you go and you don't even know where somebody lives, but you have been commissioned to go, find out where she is and bring her back. A group in the US helped us and we were able to locate her and we came with her. But now everything is lost. You know when you're homeless, you don't have your Kenyan ID, you don't have your US ID. You don't have your Kenyan passport, you don't have your US passport. You don't have your green card, it got lost, you don't have anything, nothing to show who you are. But by God's grace, we were able to get travel documents to Kenya and we came. But now she needs to go back and she doesn't have any American document to go back with. And she got a baby. Actually, that was the greatest motivation for us to go because we didn't want that baby to get lost. The baby is 2 years old. So we went and we were able to come back even with the baby. It was you know, those things where sometimes even 999 is called on you, but we were able to come with her. Then now she needs to go back and she needs documents to go back. And the ticket that we took, because we didn't want problems at the airport, we took a return ticket for both her and the child because the child is an American child. So you can't be allowed to come with an American child without a return ticket. So now she needs to go back. The return ticket is for 19th September. She needs to go back. And she doesn't have what? An American passport. She doesn't have an American ID. She doesn't have her green card. So we had to go talk to, she had to book an appointment with the embassy so that they can give her temporal travel documents. So today morning, because she's there now, today morning I asked her, now in case you are asked whether you're going, because she's not going back with the baby. In case you are asked whether you are going back with the baby, what will you say? What would you say? Seeing her situation, you know. And the return ticket, because she has to show evidence that she has a return ticket, she has a ticket to go back for her to get those papers. So you are asked, I see you have a return ticket here with the baby. So are you going back with her? What would you say? See, that was an ethical issue. Because you are wondering, if you say I'm not going with her, you might be told stay here. Why are you keeping this baby here? If you say you are going with her, you are lying. And yet you need these papers to go and make your things correct because she can't be given any original documents while she's here. So it was an ethical issue. So as we continue on, I'll let you think about it and know what was the best to be done. She will tell me what she said when she comes back, but we pray that she gets the papers. So the objective of our course today is to discuss Christian work ethics and its application. I know when we say Christian work ethics, things are flowing in our minds. And secondly, we want to appreciate the importance of work ethics as courageous witnesses in the marketplace. Because we need to be courageous witnesses. So we have to appreciate the importance of Christian work ethics as we are in our marketplace. So what do we aim to do? So we want to discuss, those are the topics that I was given. We want to discuss a biblical perspective on faith and work. Are the people at the back hearing me? You're hearing me? We want to discuss a biblical perspective on faith and work. We want to discuss Christian ethics that should govern a Christian at work. And we shall be discussing finding work-life balance because it's part of our ethical living, and then dealing with pressure in the workplace. Once we do that, we'll be able to be more equipped to apply Christian work ethics and consequently become courageous witnesses of Christ in the marketplace. I think this theme has been running all along, and we are very familiar with it even in the expositions. So that's what we want to discuss. So this will be our session structure. We'll have an introduction, Then we'll do a biblical perspective on faith and work. We'll do Christian work ethics and several definitions that probably we know, but I just want us to look at again. Importance of studying Christian ethics, approaches and application of Christian work ethics, finding work-life balance, dealing with pressures at work, and summary of the key points. That is what we'll be looking at. And sometimes I like giving stories because they help us get to see what we are dealing with. And the first, is it the first? The second? The second one that I want to talk about is something that is not related to your work really, but it also gives us some food for thought so that as we continue on, we'll be thinking about it. Ochieng is a mechanic. In we take cars for repairs. Yes, Grogoni, Uko. So Ochieng got a car, he refurbished the car and sold it in good condition to somebody. And then the person was very happy. He sold it not at a very high price, but at a reasonable price. And then 1 year later, the client calls him and tells him the car has developed a mechanical problem. What does Ochieng do? He sold the car in good shape. He is a Christian. He gave it at a bargain price. And this person has called and told him that this car is not in good shape. 1 year later, what does Ochieng do? I'll give you a minute to discuss with the person next to you. And then you let me know. Okay. 1 minute is over. Hakuna kengele hapa. Okay. 1 minute is over. I'll just ask 3 people to tell us what you think Ochieng should do. Just 3 people. Do I choose or people will volunteer? Pardon?
People will volunteer.
People will volunteer. Okay, the first volunteer, what will you do? What should Ochieng do? Yes?
Like Ochieng, I would have handled that thing in 2 ways. One, I would say, the car no longer belongs to me, so why are you calling me to
Okay.
It's broken. 2, I would inquire if the problem of the vehicle was there before I sold the car, so that it's something that has been there for the 1 year, or it's something that has happened between this 1 year that she was not in ownership of the vehicle. So that if the problem was there before, you can, help or give directions on how to go about the repair and all that. But if it's something that happened in this 1 year that he was not in ownership of the vehicle, then I don't think Ochieng has anything to help with the repair or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Let's keep it there. Let's not forget her answer, yes?
I think for me, since the way you explained, he sold the car while in a good condition. And this guy has been using the car for 1 good year. We expect the wear and tear. So since Ochieng is a mechanic and is in business, let him bring the car, he will fix it at his expense.
Okay. Yes, another perspective. Remember, he's also a Christian. Any other last? Yes?
I also think it in this way.
Yeah.
If you had a warranty.
Listen.
I think it this way. If you had a warranty, the car could be returned and maybe check on it. But if the warranty has expired, You don't have to return the car. It will be at your own expense.
Okay, thank you. So we have those perspectives. So I'll not comment on them. We'll continue. Your name is? Dorcas. Sylvia and? Charles. I hope I remember. I remember them. So, as a way of introduction, since time immemorial, human beings have been faced daily, hourly, almost minute by decisions on what they need to do. What should I do? Why should I do it? How should I behave? What is right or wrong? How should I live? Questions on values and behavior. Today morning, you faced an issue, isn't it? Do I wake up when my alarm went off, if it was there, or I continue on? It's very cold. So you faced a dilemma. What do I do? Ladies, you wondered, what do I wear? Men, it's easy. My husband arranges them. He picks the one that he didn't wear, then once he does, he hangs it at the end. Laini na laini, sindio? Yeah, don't tell him Ken and Peter when you see him that I said that. But for ladies, it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma for us. And therefore, and that is just an easy part of it. So every day we are faced by situations where we have to ask ourselves, what do I do in this situation? How should I behave in this situation? What is right or wrong in this situation? What is right and wrong for Mechanical Chieng? What is right or wrong for my sister as she goes to defend herself? You know those American embassies, the way they are, the way they are tough, yeah? How should I behave? How should I behave? And what's a biblical perspective of faith and work? Because we are talking about Christian work ethics. So what does the Bible talk about work? We have talked about the dilemmas that we have to keep facing at work or wherever we are. So what does the Bible say about work? The Christian view of work is derived from God himself. In Genesis chapter 2, from verse 2 and continuous, when God was creating the earth, he worked for 6 days and rested the seventh day. So we derive our working from the fact that God worked. Secondly, God commissioned man to work and tend the garden, isn't it? After he created man, he told him what? Tend the garden, work the garden where you'll be eating from. And thirdly, God is still at work. John 5:17. I'll ask somebody to read that for us. John 5:17. God is still at work. So for us, working is even a command from God. Who has found it? John 5:17. Yeah.
John 5:17. But Jesus answered them, my Father has been working until now, and I have been working.
My Father has been working until now, and I am still working. So our perspective of work is derived from God himself. God worked, then he commissioned us to work, and he is still at work. So we must wake up and work all the time. So it is who God is and what God does and says that shapes our view of the world and work and the values that we take to work. Remember we talked about ethics being values that we want to, ethics being values. So which values are these? So the values that we shall take to work are values that are going to be derived from God himself. As opposed to philosophical ethics, we will find that Christian work ethics has a difference. Because philosophical ethics, I'm sure those people who have done the biblical studies, Kina Baraza, and all that probably can be able to tell us more about philosophical ethics. But on a brief note is that philosophical ethics is based on reason and evidence. There was a time we had something that, before I say that, let me just talk about the second part. Philosophical ethics challenges the Christian ethics by saying that, you know, who is this mystic being who is giving us directions and instructions, what we need to do. And then I got a quote from Seneca, a younger philosophical mind, and she was saying, religion is regarded as true by the common people, by philosophers as false, and by state as useful. I wanted to put this here because I know even the state ethics and laws are derived from the Bible, isn't it? The 10 Commandments. Yeah, so when somebody like this talks like this, you definitely know that they are lost. So Christian work ethics, as opposed to the philosophical ethics that is based on reason and evidence, and even people's mind, they are thinking. Remember, there's a time people are talking about my dress, my choice. That is just your own philosophical thinking and saying that that's what you want to do. So Christian work ethics is based on biblical authority that gives guidance and boundaries based on the Word of God. So Christian work ethics is based on biblical authority that gives guidance and boundaries based on the Word of God. So as I said earlier, we'll do some definitions, and these are definitions of terminologies that you already know. But I thought for today's lesson, let us just go through them again. And I said, we are talking about Christian work ethics. So I thought we can do a definition of Christian work and ethics. A Christian is a follower, we all know, a follower and a disciple of Jesus Christ through the redemption work of the cross of Jesus. But I thought I'll continue on and say, a Christian is expected to bear the fruits of righteousness. As a Christian, when you are out there in the marketplace. And the marketplace for you is here, where you are working as a person in ministry. It will be out there when you are going to meet your students. It will be out there as you interact with your church. It will be out there as you interact with people in the marketplace. Your neighbors, in offices, as you go to them, that will be your marketplace. So we are expected to bear fruits: love, joy, peace, faithfulness, patience, kindness, self-control, gentleness, and goodness. We cannot divorce ourselves from that. If I call myself a Christian, that is the thing that I'm supposed to be seen as doing out there. Proverbs 11:30 says, the fruit of righteousness is a tree of life, and he who wins soul is wise. So that is a Christian still, isn't it? That we are supposed to have the fruit of righteousness, and we are supposed to win souls, because winning souls is wise. So that is the totality of a Christian. And the Christian is also given a command through the Great Commission. So we don't just become Christians, have the fruit, and not go out to be able to win souls for Christ. So there's the Great Commission. So that's the totality. So when you think about yourself, when I think about myself, I have to think of myself in totality. These are the things that I'm supposed to be identified with. Secondly, we want to define work. That one I'll just pass through very fast. That it is expenditure of physical and mental energy to produce sustenance and culture. I will not dwell on that much because I know we know it. And the activity work is the activity that engages most of humanity's population and time. And remember, that is one of the first commandments that Adam and Eve were given. And I had mentioned this, that human work is based on the analogy of God's work at the beginning of time. Lastly, a definition of ethics. Ethics comes from a Greek word, ethos, which has two meanings in common Greek usage, which is habit or custom. So when we are talking about ethics, when we are talking about Charles's ethics, Sylvia's ethics, what do we mean? We are meaning her habit and her custom. How does she do her things? Secondly, ethics is knowing and doing what is good or right. Yeah, but it also means you are knowing what is wrong and not doing it. It's about values and behavior. So after we have done those definitions of the various words, of the three words, how do we define Christian work ethics? So Christian work ethics is ordering our steps in every situation of life, including where we expend our mental and physical effort. That is where our work, isn't it? Yeah? According to the fundamental faith commitments, and we'll talk about them as we share. We share as Christians redeemed of the Lord. That I got from Theology of Work. So that is what Christian work ethics can be defined as. Ordering our steps in every situation, not one situation, in every situation of life, including where we expend our mental, that was my addition, including where we expend our mental and physical effort, according to the fundamental faith commitments we share as Christians, people who are redeemed of the Lord. The Christian who is supposed to bear fruit, the Christian who is supposed to carry forward the Great Commission. Those are the things that are expected of us. You are done? I'm seeing some people writing it. I can move on. I thought to oppose this, to compare this with the corporate definitions or the compass, the ethics compass in the corporate space. In the corporate space, ethics are normally described in 4 ways. When you are in an office and you are faced with a situation, not the situations that I was talking about, one of the things that the board or the committees or the executive committee will be talking about is it legal? What we are about to do, the action that we are about to do, is it a legal action? Is it within the law? Once they discover that, once they establish that this is within the law, then they ask themselves, is it right? Is it right? Is it for a greater good? And then they go to reputation. If we do this action, will it harm or help the organization or the clients? And then they go to commercial. Will it improve the organization performance? The decision that we are going to do. That is called the ethical compass in the corporate life. And still, we can still apply it to our mechanical chieng. What are the legal situations that he'll find himself in as he deals with this client? And somebody talked about what? Warrants, isn't it? And then moral. Is it right? What can he do so that he can be able to manage this client? And then reputation. If he decides he's not going to help this client at all, what happens to his reputation? What will happen as this client goes out and talks about him? If he agrees to do it, how will it affect his reputation? Secondly, how will it affect his business, commercial, yeah? Will he be able to make more business? Will he get into a loss if he assists him? Will it give him better returns in future if he assists him? So I just thought, as we are talking about the Christian compass, let's also look at the general compass. The general corporate compass. So we go now to the ethics, our ethics in the workplace. Ethics is practiced in relation to relationships. It's now not on our own. When you talk about ethics, we are thinking about the next person, we are talking about the next staff that you are having, or something like that. So ethics are not practiced in isolation. They are practiced at a relationship level. And when we talk about relationships, it means that you are talking about a manager or owner toward client or customer. So here you can be talking about your bosses, the owners of the company, the owners of work, and for us in ministry, actually the owner of the ministry. How do you relate to God as you do your ministry? Secondly, management, owner towards employees. You yourself, how do you relate with people who will be lower than you? Probably now you are a STEM staff. How will you behave with the CU chairperson, with the CU executive committee that you are working with? If you are a focus staff, how will you relate with the people who are below you? And then employee toward employer, co-workers, and customer. How are you going to behave if you are a STEMer with your seniors? If you are a staff, how do you behave with your senior? How do you behave with Focus itself as an organization? And how do you behave for customers here? We'll say the people that we are working with in the CUs. So I'd want us to do an activity where we list at least 3 unethical practices within each of the above categories. 3 unethical practices that can be practiced towards your senior, towards your peer, and towards your juniors. So I'll divide us into two tables, turn around, get somebody who will be able to do the discussion, write them down, and then they are going to do the presentation to us. So we want to know unethical practices that we can practice towards our, let me use the normal words, our bosses, our peers, and our juniors. What unethical things can happen as we do our work? Remember, we've said ethics is a way of life, what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I'll ask these 2 to join together, those 2, this, and those 2, and those 2, and just organize ourselves. We'll have these 4 groups present, and then in the other one, the others will present, yeah? Yeah, so we'll start with you. What? Just come. So you tell me your group, then they won't present the next time. So what you do, if a group mentions what you've mentioned, don't mention it, so that we save time, yeah? All right. You can start for us. Say your name so that I can get it and come here.
All right. Praise the Lord. Amen. My name is Mark Arodi, a representative of the group that was there. And we'll start with the 3 unethical practices against our seniors. Number 1 is talking ill of them. That can be through lying, gossips, backbiting, and also not meeting timelines or deadlines of the tasks given. Then to our peers, undermining the role of your teammates, kuingilia kazi ya mwenzako, and also false accusation against your peers. Then for juniors we had harassments. Also, that can be done in different ways. It can be through sexual insults, yeah. Then there's also exploitation and pursuing self-interest through your juniors. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now, is there anything that you have that they have mentioned? Some.
Yeah, others.
Okay. Anything? Okay, just.
For example, yes, to their boss, we have misuse of office resources.
Okay.
Yeah, and also maybe getting or having wrong certifications at the workplace. Yeah, then peers to peers, we had segregation. Then boss to the juniors, we have discrimination at the workplace. Mm-hmm. Then work overload or underload. Okay. Then provision of non-conducive environment for the work.
Thank you. Let's clap for them. You'll allow me to request you to sit, and then we do the rest at the end of the session, because of time. Let's clap for all of them and for all of us. So you see, we know these things. So we just want to put them in the right categories and see what is required of us. So we have several approaches to ethics, and the main ones are 3. We have the command approach to ethics, we have the consequences approach to ethics, and we have the character approach to ethics when we are discussing ethics or learning ethics. And basically the one on command is basically thinking, what is it that I have been asked to do? What is it that God wants of me as an ethical person, as a Christian? And those examples you've given, you are going to categorize them into these areas. So we'll talk about principles that God gives us to live by. So in the approach command, the principles that we have are derived from God's moral character. Who is God? Who is God? How do we get to know what we need to do in line with the commands and the principles of who God is? God is love, and he requires us to reflect the love of Christ in our work practices. As I'm in my workplace, as I'm in the mission field, as I'm in the ministry, I need to be conscious of the fact that God is love, and he requires that I show that love to other people. So when we are working and we are not acting in love, it means that we've gone off the command of God on ethics, the principle of God is love. Secondly, God is holy, as we are told in 1 Peter 1:15, and he commands us to be holy. God commands us to be holy, not just when we are with brethren, not just when we are in church, not just when we are serving, but even in our offices, he requires that we be holy. Sometimes we find that like this is a very hard thing that God has told us to do, but he knows that we are able. The Bible tells us that he has given us everything that we need in life so that we can be able to live a holy life, a righteous life, a life without sin. And being holy, let me not expound more because of time, but God is holy and he commands us to be holy. In our dealings, we have to be holy. As we are talking to our peers, as we are talking with our bosses, as we are talking with the people subordinate to us, we have to act in a holy manner. When we know that we are set apart, we are sanctified, so we act without inviting sin to ourselves. God is merciful, so he requires us to be merciful. So in our dealings with other people, we have to exercise that. We have to exercise mercy as we are dealing with people around us. The other big thing I would want us to really look at is diligence and excellence, because that's an area most Christians have been accused of in the workplace, in the marketplace. I worked in Focus just for a year, and it was a nice environment to work. Everybody is a Christian. When you go out there, your boss is not a Christian. So how do you behave when you are there? And one of the things that Christians have been accused of in the marketplace is lack of diligence and lack of excellence. We extend grace sana huko mpaka you just find you are not doing what you are not doing what you are supposed to do. When God created, every day he was saying that it is good, isn't it? Yeah. He created the sun, he created the land, and he saw it was good. Can we strive so that our work can be seen as good at every time? Here at Focus, out there, everywhere we go, we have to do that, because that is a principle from God, God's moral character. He's a God of excellence and a God of diligence. So even us, we should not take shortcuts in the things we need to do. We plan for them and do them and expend. And those people who excel in the things they do, they reap the rewards of that. So that's one of the things that God is. And God is truthful. Titus 1:2, Exodus 20:16. God commands us to be people of integrity, not bear false witness. Psalms 26:1-4, declare me innocent, for I have acted in integrity. If you finish that verse. So God is truthful, and he expects us to live a truthful life. He expects us to live a life that we are not scared and looking behind our shoulders because we have integrity issues. You'll go work in offices where people are doing wonders, but you have to stand as a Christian and tell yourself that I'm not going to bow down to the pressure around me. I know Christians are so scared of going to politics because sometimes you just find you have been umepenya huko, you have done the things that you should not be doing, and you find yourself almost in trouble, isn't it? Yeah, so God is truth. Respect. We are required to respect both our juniors and seniors, and this has come out even as we have talked about how we do unethical behaviors. So it will be required that you respect even the person who is sweeping the office, the person who is cooking for you. Talk to them nicely. Respect their work. Sometimes my house girl, when she's coming to mop the house, she comes and tells me, nataka kumop hapo. And that time I'm busy on my computer doing my work, and I'm wondering, can she see I'm busy? But I remember that's her job, isn't it? So I wake up with my things, I go and sit somewhere else because I'm respecting her work. That's what the Lord will require of us, to respect those around us. Accountability. God said, let us create man in our own image, and they did it. So you need to be accountable for your time and the deliverables. What is it that you need to do? You need to do it even when nobody is chasing you and looking out to see what you are doing. And God is a God of justice. So we must combine faith with justice in the workplace, where we are fair. We are fair even when it hurts. When I know this is what I should have done, and I have not done it, I admit it. And even when I'm judging or making decisions on other people, I be just in what I'm doing. So we said there are 3 approaches. So that's command, the principles of living, where we are saying that we are deriving them from the moral character of God. Moral and ethics can be used interchangeably for our purposes. So we have talked about those principles, the fact that God is love, God is merciful, He is holy, and He requires that we also exhibit that in the workplace so that our ethical standing can be okay. Remember also we have Ochieng and we have my sister that we need to think about as we are talking about these approaches. The other approach of ethics is the approach of consequences. When I do this, what will be the consequence of my action? What are the desired outcomes and biblical character traits that I want to produce with my action? Is what I'm about to do, is the decision I'm about to make, is the action I'm about to do in line with God's intention for man? Or I'll be destroying the person who is next to me. And remember that the consequences don't necessarily have to give happiness, but they have to be just and they have to be right. Secondly, the aim is that we may give out the most loving, just, honest, biblical sound in what we do. So in our ethics, in our practice of behavior and our values, we need to know that what needs to come out is biblically sound outcomes. The last one is the character approach. Character approach is who you are. How do you feed your character so that you can be able to give out the outcomes that are correct? I feed my character on the Word of God. I feed my character on proper ethics, and that will come out even as I deal with issues. When I talk with my sister sometimes after what she has gone through in the US, I find like we are on very different wavelengths because of what she has fed her mind with and what I feed my mind with. That's what I'm talking about, character. Then, when you do what you are doing, what kind of person do you want to be? What character, attitudes, and motives do you want to emanate from you as you continue in your journey of ethics? So to sum up that ethics, we have talked about values, we have talked about God, who God is, and where we derive our ethical characters from, which is God. So I can mention a few from what you mentioned. I can mention a few unethical conducts that sometimes are displayed in the workplace. One of them is corruption, bribery, misuse of power, and you'll see some of this still came up as people were talking, isn't it? Biased decisions. When you make biased decisions, then you are not acting ethically. Stealing funds, little, pocket money, little, petty cash, it adds up. Manipulation of information. Sometimes people manipulate information for their own good. That is unethical. Deliberate delays in service or in meeting deadlines. That is unethical. Non-appliance of your mind and negligence of duty. Non-appliance of our minds and negligence of duty means that we are not diligent and we are not having the spirit of excellence within us. Some people evade taxes, and that is also unethical. There's avoiding and evading. So avoiding is fine, evading is wrong. Intellectual dishonesty. Like the slides I was showing here, I had to make sure that I'm picking things from the internet that are free. Otherwise, if you pick things that are supposed to be paid, you are committing an ethical thing coming to present it here. So when you are doing presentations, please make sure what you pick to come to present are free materials that you can use. And the list can go on and go on. And even abdication of responsibilities. We are given responsibilities we run away from, then it becomes a problem. The other issue we are supposed to have is finding work-life balance. And I'll also run through this. God modeled a 7-day work cycle. He worked for 6 days and rested? Yes, on the 7th day. Secondly, we also have a model of 24 hours. John 9:4, work when it is still day, for night comes when no man can work. So that means that we have to balance things. We have to create time for resting and we have to create time for work. You can see that person, he's really worked up. There are things that he has to do, so many things that he's juggling around, meaning that he might be having a problem with balancing issues. And that's a lady who has so much that she needs to deal with. She's on phone, she's talking, she's speaking, another phone is coming and all that, yeah? So we need to find a work-life balance. And I know we might have questions on ethics. Please put them down. We'll create time at the end of the session. So what is the basis for finding a work-life balance? It's because we need to excel both at work and in our life, personal lives, yeah? So one of the ways that we can do this is prioritize demands at home and our workplace. We need to prioritize demands at our home and our workplace. We make sure that we dedicate our home time to our family and personal time. Create time for yourself. Then we need to prioritize work also to tasks that are essential to our careers. When I was asked to speak about this finding work-life balance in ethics, I tried connecting them and wondering how are they connecting? And how I found like they are connecting is that if you don't balance your life, then you'll find yourself doing unethical things to be able to reach where you need to reach. You'll find yourself taking shortcuts because you are not balancing your life. So one of the things that we need to do as we are trying to balance our life is to give ourselves enough time to complete tasks. We do not over schedule. Nowadays we say schedule. We used to say schedule. We had it schedule. Learn to say no to non-priorities and avoid guilt-driven yes. And take regular breaks. When we have a balanced life, then we are able to be ethical in the things we do. We won't be dashing around trying to create things that are not there. We'll be able to be excellent in the things that we do, and we'll be able to run around making sure that everything is being done correctly. And I know it becomes quite a challenge for people also in ministry jobs, because you'll find yourself very busy over weekends, you'll find yourself very busy in the evenings. So how do you create that limit? How do you create the limit time limit so that you are able to meet all that you need to meet. One of the things that I find very helpful in time management is detaching from work after work. Detach from work after work. I know the focus staff have Monday. I don't know whether it's all of them, but the ones I work with have Monday as their day off. And I really try not to call them on a Monday. I really try not to write an SMS on a Monday because technology has come to invade our space. Such that even that Monday, I'll write an email to Ken. He will open and see, and he's on off. Yeah? So make sure that this technology doesn't invade your me time. Doesn't invade your personal time. Doesn't invade your family time. You'll find strategies. Some people switch off their phones. Some people have 2 phones, one for work, one for home, so that when you leave the office, you are off the office. Thirdly, take care of yourself through regular exercising, eating well, taking up a hobby, develop a support system. This is very important. As you're doing your work-life balance, develop a support system so that in case you're not able to perform something that you need to do, there's somebody who can do for you, and you can be able to take some time off. The other thing that we are supposed to talk about is dealing with pressure in the workplace. This is just taking a break so that you don't burn out. How do we manage our time so that we can be able to have a proper time work-life balance? I'll just mention a few of them. One of them is discovering our productivity rhythm. What productivity rhythm are you? Are you a morning person, a day person, an evening person, so that you can be able to get the most done the time that you are most productive? Managing your time with goals, prioritizing your time, delegating, setting a ritual. I would want to talk a little about that. Setting a ritual or a rhythm. Set a ritual for yourself as far as work is concerned. I wake up at 4. I do my quiet time for 30 minutes. I wake up at 5. I do my quiet time for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, depending on what you do, or 1. After that, this is what I do. After that, this is what I do. So when you have that plan, even if you veer off a bit, then you are not so off, isn't it? Yeah, create rhythms in your life. Dealing with pressure in the workplace. What are the sources of pressure at the workplace? This was meant to be an activity group for the groups, but I'll just ask like 3 people to respond. What are the pressures that we face at our workplace? Yeah? Yes, meeting deadlines. Thank you. Another person? The lady in green? Poor time management, pressure at work, time. Financial pressures. Pardon? Financial pressures. Yeah, financial pressures at work. So I'll just mention a bit of them. Pressure at work can originate from workload, like we have mentioned. Performance and fear of failure. Yeah? When I started STEM, I worked in STEM. I was so scared. I was wondering, how will this go? And then I was sent to Kabete, Upper Kabete, and Ahiti with a brother who had been at Lower Kabete. And one time I was given a feedback, and we were told that the brother told me, he was called DG, I don't know, maybe some older people may know him. DG told me one time, and we were working with him, you know what the executive committee is saying? Me, I'm just playing, but you are working. And I told myself, how can they say that? And DG is the one who guides me around here in this campus. So that fear can come, and may the Lord help us to be able to overcome. And then sometimes there's a sense of competition. You see other people are doing better than yourself and wondering, how am I going to manage this? And then conflict at work and conflict for rest. So how do we manage pressure at work? For workload requires focus and conscious planning for the control of your day. You must plan your day, you must plan your week, you must plan your month. And I know these are tools that Focus is very conversant with and good at. So please follow what they train us on. Proper time management, and then set limits for yourself, for work and home. How do we manage performance and fear of failure? Know your key result areas and indicators. What is it that you are supposed to produce? And this is where sometimes the corporate world and ministry sometimes differ. Corporate world, they are ruthless. If you don't meet what you're supposed to meet, it's a problem. Sometimes I tell people in Hatua, we'd be having warning letters now because some things are not being met the way they are supposed to be met, yeah? So know what you're supposed to do and prioritize it. If you're having a problem, seek assistance in good time. Seek assistance. If you're finding this area I'm struggling and I know at the end of the day I'll be judged with it, please seek assistance. Thirdly, get a mentor. Get somebody you can be working with to help you manage your performance and fear of failure, and depend on God. You know, we are Christians and God has called us. We all sense that God has called us. So let's depend on him, because we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. The other thing is competition. Know you are a unique person, gifted differently. Be confident of your place in the organization and be a team player. We also go through conflicts. When you are going through conflict, see other people in God's perspective. They are children of God. Pray for them. Pray for yourself. You'll just find things sorting out. If they don't, you'll change yourself to accommodate the situation and all that. And discuss the issue if there's any need to discuss the issue. So what are our take-homes from here? In terms of Christian ethics, it's not concerned only with the right and wrong actions. God wants us to consider not only the action that we are taking itself, but also our attitudes, our motives, and the results of the action. Remember, through the approach, consequences, and what was the third one? And character, isn't it? Yeah? So that's what we can talk about. And those are recommended reading references. But the presentation will be with them so they can be able to give us. So with that, I want to give us some 5 or so minutes for us to be able to ask a question, anything that you may need clarification, or a comment.
The Fellowship of Christian Unions, reaching students, changing nations.